Today, I want to talk about something that all of us have experienced: anger. It's a powerful emotion, often rising like a fire within us, threatening to consume our reason and control. But what if I told you that we don't have to be slaves to anger? What if we could master it, rather than let it master us? The Stoics, great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, believed that anger is not an uncontrollable force, but a choice. They taught that through wisdom, discipline, and perspective, we can transform anger into strength, clarity, and action. So how do we apply Stoicism to anger? Let's explore some key principles. Many people mistake anger for strength, believing that it gives them power, authority, or control over a situation. They see it as a tool for asserting dominance, standing up for themselves, or demanding respect. However, the Stoics understood that anger is not a source of strength, but rather a sign of weakness. When we are angry, we lose control of our emotions, allowing them to dictate our thoughts and actions rather than relying on reason and wisdom. Seneca described anger as a form of temporary madness, an intense emotion that clouds our judgment, distorts reality, and pushes us to act in ways we often regret. A person who lashes out in rage may feel powerful in the moment, but in reality, they are being controlled by their emotions rather than exercising self-mastery. True strength does not come from shouting the loudest, intimidating others, or seeking revenge. It comes from remaining calm under pressure, thinking clearly in difficult situations, and responding with patience and wisdom rather than impulsive reactions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we always have power over our own minds, no matter what happens around us. A person who can stay composed in the face of provocation, who does not allow external events to dictate their inner peace, possesses far greater strength than someone who explodes in anger at every frustration. By recognizing that anger is not a force that empowers us, but one that weakens our ability to think and act wisely, we take the first step toward mastering it. When anger arises, our first instinct is often to react immediately. We feel an urge to defend ourselves, to strike back with words or actions, or to let our emotions dictate our response. However, the Stoics teach us that wisdom begins with pause. Instead of acting on impulse, we must take a step back and give ourselves the space to think clearly. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that we are not disturbed by events themselves, but by the judgments we make about them. When something angers us, we should ask, is this truly as bad as it seems? Will this matter in an hour, a day, or a year? Often the answer is no. Pausing before reacting allows us to gain perspective. Instead of seeing the situation as a personal attack or an injustice that must be avenged, we can view it with a calmer, more rational mind. Many times, what initially seems like an insult or a betrayal is simply a misunderstanding, a difference in perspective, or even an opportunity for growth. Seneca advised that when we feel anger rising, we should delay our response, as time has a way of cooling even the fiercest emotions. A moment of patience can prevent days of regret. Another way to gain perspective is to consider the insignificance of most frustrations in the grand scheme of life. The Stoics often reflected on the vastness of time and the fleeting nature of human existence. Will this situation still bother you a year from now? Will it matter at the end of your life? Most of what angers us is temporary and trivial, yet we allow it to rob us of our peace. By pausing and gaining perspective, we remind ourselves that our time and energy are too valuable to be wasted on unnecessary anger. Instead of reacting with frustration, we can respond with wisdom, choosing calmness over chaos and reason over rage. One of the most powerful lessons in Stoicism is the ability to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. Anger often arises from frustration, when people disappoint us, when events don't go our way, or when life seems unfair. However, the Stoics remind us that much of what happens in the world is beyond our influence. No matter how much we resist, We cannot control other people's opinions, actions or words. We cannot control the past, external circumstances, or the inevitable challenges that life presents. What we can control, however, is our own response, our own mindset, and how we choose to interpret events. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that suffering does not come from external events themselves, but from the way we perceive them. If we attach too much importance to things beyond our control, we set ourselves up for unnecessary distress. Imagine being stuck in traffic, feeling rage build as the minutes pass. No amount of anger will clear the road, make the cars disappear, or change the situation. But what is in our control is our reaction, whether we allow frustration to consume us, or whether we take a deep breath, accept reality, and use the time productively. This principle applies to more significant life challenges as well. If someone insults you, their words are beyond your control, but your reaction is entirely in your hands. You can choose to take offense, or you can choose indifference. If a job opportunity slips away, you can waste energy dwelling on it, or you can focus on improving yourself for the next one. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Instead of wasting energy trying to control what we cannot, we should channel that energy into what we can: our thoughts, our actions, our values, and our ability to maintain inner peace. By making this distinction, we free ourselves from the grip of anger and frustration. We no longer feel like victims of circumstance, but masters of our own perspective. Instead of being tossed around by the unpredictable waves of life, we become steady, like a captain who navigates the storm with clarity and purpose. When we accept what we cannot change and take full responsibility for what we can, we gain true freedom, and with it an unshakable peace of mind. Anger often arises not from events themselves, but from the way we interpret them. The Stoics believed that it is not external circumstances that disturb us, but our judgments about those circumstances. This means that when we are angry, we are not reacting to the actual event, but to the meaning we have attached to it. By reframing the situation, choosing to see it from a different perspective, we can transform anger into understanding, patience, or even gratitude. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your immediate reaction might be anger, assuming they were being rude or reckless. But what if instead, you considered the possibility that they were rushing to an emergency, distracted by a personal crisis, or simply made an honest mistake? By shifting your perspective, your anger softens, and what once felt like a personal attack becomes just another moment in life that doesn't need to control your emotions. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that people act according to their nature and circumstances. If someone insults you, rather than seeing it as an attack, consider that their words reflect more about them than about you. Perhaps they are struggling, projecting their frustrations, or simply lack the wisdom to act differently. Reframing allows us to replace resentment with curiosity. Why is this person behaving this way? What might they be dealing with? Instead of reacting with anger, we can respond with patience, or even compassion. Seneca advised that when faced with provocation, we should imagine that it is happening to someone else. If a friend came to you upset about the same situation, you would likely offer them calm and rational advice. Why not extend that same wisdom to yourself? Often, what angers us in the moment appears trivial when viewed from a distance. By consciously shifting our interpretation of events, we gain control over our emotions, rather than allowing them to control us. Reframing also applies to personal challenges. If we see setbacks as punishments, we become frustrated. But if we view them as lessons, we grow stronger. If we consider obstacles as opportunities to build resilience, then even adversity can serve a purpose. The Stoics remind us that the world is not against us, it simply is. How we choose to see it determines whether we suffer needlessly or find peace and wisdom in every situation. Anger and resentment often stem from a sense of injustice, feeling that we have been wronged, that life is unfair, or that others have something we lack. When we focus on what we have lost, what we do not have, or how others have treated us poorly, we create a mindset of negativity and bitterness. However, the Stoics believed that gratitude is a powerful antidote to anger. Instead of dwelling on what is wrong, we should shift our focus to what is right, to what we have rather than what we lack. Seneca wrote that no one is truly poor who appreciates what they already have. If we constantly compare ourselves to those who have more, we will always feel deprived. But if we take time to recognize the many good things in our lives, our health, our relationships, our opportunities, or even the simple fact that we are alive, we begin to realize that we have far more to be grateful for than to be resentful about. Gratitude changes our perspective. Instead of being angry at someone for disappointing us, we can be thankful for the lessons we learned from them. Instead of resenting difficulties, we can appreciate them as opportunities to grow in patience, resilience, and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, reminded himself daily to appreciate life as it is, rather than as he wished it to be. He recognized that every moment is a gift, and even hardships are part of the natural order of life. When we adopt this mindset, it becomes difficult to hold on to anger. We begin to see that many of the things that frustrate us are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Gratitude allows us to let go of petty grievances and focus on what truly matters. One way to cultivate gratitude is through daily reflection. Each day, take a moment to consider what went well, who helped you, or what small joys you experienced. The more we practice this habit, the more we train our minds to see abundance instead of scarcity, peace instead of resentment. When we replace anger with gratitude, we take back control of our emotions and gain a deeper appreciation for life. Instead of allowing negativity to consume us, we become free, able to meet challenges with a calm and grateful heart. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves of the impermanence of life, not as a reason for despair, but as a tool for wisdom and perspective. When we are angry, it is often because we take things too seriously, or assume that our frustrations will last forever. We become consumed by petty grievances, hold on to resentment, and allow trivial matters to disturb our peace. But the reality is that everything in life is temporary. The people who frustrate us, the situations that anger us, and even our own existence are fleeting. Understanding this can help us let go of anger and focus on what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, often reflected on the shortness of life. He reminded himself that generations before him had worried about the same things, had been angry over the same problems, and had eventually passed away, just as he would one day. He wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you." This was not meant to be depressing but liberating. If life is short, why waste it on anger? If the people who frustrate us will one day be gone, why hold on to resentment? When we view life through the lens of impermanence, many of the things that once angered us seem insignificant. Seneca also emphasized this point, urging us to live each day as if it were our last. Imagine that today was your final day. Would you spend it in anger? Would you waste precious time holding grudges? When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we learn to forgive more easily, to be patient with others, and to appreciate each moment instead of wasting it on negative emotions. Impermanence applies not just to people, but to circumstances as well. The things that make us angry today, whether it's a rude comment, an unfair decision, or an unexpected hardship, will soon pass. A year from now, will this moment of frustration still matter? 5 years from now, will we even remember it? Most of the time, the answer is no. This simple realization can help us let go of unnecessary anger and focus on what truly deserves our energy. By embracing the impermanence of life, we free ourselves from the burden of taking everything personally. We learn to accept things as they come and go, without clinging to resentment or dwelling on the past. Instead of reacting with anger, we can respond with wisdom, understanding that every moment, good or bad, is temporary. This perspective allows us to live with greater peace, appreciating life for what it is, rather than being consumed by emotions that do not serve us. Anger is often seen as a negative emotion, something to be avoided or suppressed. However, the Stoics believed that emotions, including anger, are not inherently bad. They are simply signals guiding us toward deeper self-understanding. Instead of allowing anger to control us, we can use it as a tool for self-improvement. When we feel anger rising, it is an opportunity to pause and ask, why am I reacting this way? What does this reveal about me? Seneca wrote that anger is often rooted in unrealistic expectations. We get angry because we expect people to always be kind, events to always go our way, or life to be fair. But is this realistic? People will make mistakes, situations will be unpredictable, and life will always have its challenges. When we examine our anger, we often find that it stems from our own rigid thinking or unresolved insecurities. If a harsh comment from someone deeply upsets us, is it because their words are truly powerful, or because we are uncertain about our own self-worth? If we become enraged when plans change unexpectedly, is it because the situation is unbearable, or because we struggle with adaptability? Marcus Aurelius advised that instead of being angry at others, we should look inward and ask whether we are guilty of similar faults. If someone is rude to us, have we never been rude to someone else? If someone is impatient, have we never lost our patience? When we use anger as a mirror for self-reflection, it loses its destructive power and becomes a path to wisdom. Another way to turn anger into self-improvement is to redirect its energy toward constructive action. Instead of dwelling on frustration, ask, what can I do to improve the situation? If something makes us angry about the world, perhaps it is a sign that we should work to change it. If someone's behavior frustrates us, maybe we need to set better boundaries or improve our communication skills. If a personal failure angers us, instead of blaming others, we can focus on learning from our mistakes. Ultimately, anger is not the enemy, it is a signal. It can either consume us or guide us toward growth. By treating anger as a teacher rather than an obstacle, we gain the ability to transform negative emotions into personal strength. The goal is not to eliminate anger entirely, but to master it, using it as a tool to become wiser, calmer, and more in control of our own destiny. In a world full of distractions, conflicts, and constant noise, the ability to develop inner stillness is a rare and valuable strength. The Stoics believed that true power does not come from controlling others or external events, but from mastering oneself. When we develop inner stillness, we cultivate a deep sense of peace that allows us to navigate life's challenges without being overwhelmed by anger, frustration, or impulsive emotions. Instead of being easily disturbed by external circumstances, we become like a calm lake, reflecting reality with clarity, rather than being stirred by every passing storm. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminded himself that outside events cannot disturb the mind unless the mind allows it. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that no matter what happens around us, whether people insult us, situations take an unexpected turn, or life becomes difficult, we always have a choice to remain composed or to be ruled by emotions. Inner stillness is the ability to pause, reflect, and respond wisely, instead of reacting impulsively out of anger. Developing inner stillness requires daily practice. One of the most effective ways to cultivate it is through mindfulness and self-awareness. When anger arises, instead of immediately acting on it, we can take a deep breath and observe it as an outsider. Why am I feeling this way? What triggered this emotion? Is this response helping me or harming me? By creating space between our emotions and our actions, we regain control over our inner state. Another key aspect of inner stillness is simplifying our thoughts. Often anger is fueled by overcomplication, dwelling on past grievances, worrying about things beyond our control, or expecting life to unfold perfectly. The Stoics taught that we should focus only on what is essential. Seneca advised, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Many of our frustrations are not caused by reality itself, but by the stories we tell ourselves about it. By letting go of unnecessary mental clutter, we create a sense of calm that allows us to handle challenges with wisdom and patience. Nature offers a great example of inner stillness. A tree does not resist the wind, it bends with it. A river does not become angry at obstacles, it flows around them. Likewise, we should not resist the challenges of life with frustration, but learn to adapt and move forward with grace. When we cultivate inner stillness, we become unshaken by the small disturbances of daily life, able to respond to adversity with a calm and focused mind. True strength lies not in aggression, but in the ability to remain centered, no matter what storms arise. The Stoics believed that every situation, no matter how frustrating or unjust, is an opportunity to practice virtue. Instead of reacting to anger with more anger, they taught that we should respond with wisdom, patience, justice, and self-control. Virtue, in the Stoic sense, is not just about being morally good. It is about living in accordance with reason and acting in the best possible way, even when emotions push us toward destructive responses. When someone offends us, we might feel justified in lashing out, but does that reaction serve us? Does it improve the situation? More often than not, anger only leads to regret and worsens the conflict. The truly strong person is not the one who dominates others through aggression, but the one who masters themselves and chooses virtue over impulse. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike the one who did the injury." This means that if someone is rude, we do not have to become rude in return. If someone is dishonest, we do not have to compromise our integrity. If someone is impatient, we can respond with patience. We do not control the actions of others, but we always control how we respond. By choosing virtue, we maintain our dignity and keep our peace of mind intact. One of the greatest tests of character is remaining calm and rational in the face of provocation. Seneca advised that when anger arises, we should ask ourselves, what is the best, most honorable way to handle this situation? Instead of acting in the heat of the moment, we should take a step back and approach the situation with a sense of justice and wisdom. If we are in an argument, do we want to win the battle at the cost of damaging a relationship? If we are wronged, is retaliation the best course of action, or is there a more constructive way to address the issue? Responding with virtue does not mean allowing others to walk over us or accepting injustice without action. Rather, it means choosing the highest and most effective response. If we need to stand up for ourselves, we do so with reason and fairness rather than rage. If we need to correct someone's behavior, we do so with patience and understanding rather than cruelty. The Stoics believed that every challenge in life is a test of our character. When anger arises, we can see it as an opportunity to strengthen ourselves, proving that we are not controlled by emotions, but guided by principles. By responding with virtue, we turn potential conflicts into moments of growth. We set an example for others, demonstrating that true power is not in domination or revenge, but in self-mastery. When we choose virtue over anger, we not only protect our own peace, but we also contribute to a world that is more just, rational, and harmonious. One of the most powerful ways to influence the world is not through words, arguments, or force, but through example. The Stoics believed that rather than trying to change others through anger or frustration, we should focus on embodying the principles we value. If we want others to be calm, rational, and just, we must first practice these virtues ourselves. When faced with difficult people or challenging situations, we should ask ourselves, what kind of person do I want to be in this moment? What example do I want to set for those around me? By choosing to act with wisdom and self-control, instead of reacting with anger, we become a source of inspiration and strength for others. Marcus Aurelius, as Emperor of Rome, understood the importance of leading by example. He did not expect others to behave justly if he himself was not just. He wrote, "Waste no more time, arguing what a good man should be one." This simple yet profound lesson teaches us that actions speak louder than words. Instead of telling others how they should behave, we should demonstrate it through our own conduct. If we want a more patient world, we should be patient. If we want more kindness, we should be kind. If we want to live in a society that values reason over emotion, we must first master our own impulses. Seneca also emphasized that the best way to deal with difficult people is not through anger or retaliation, but through setting a higher standard. He advised that when faced with rudeness, cruelty or injustice, we should respond in a way that reflects our values rather than the faults of others. If someone is harsh, we can respond with calmness. If someone is dishonest, we can maintain our integrity. By doing this, we not only protect our own inner peace, but also challenge others to rise to a higher standard. Leading by example also means being consistent. It is easy to stay calm when things are going well, but true Stoic strength is demonstrated in moments of adversity. When people see us remaining composed in the face of provocation, handling stress with grace, or resolving conflicts with wisdom, they begin to notice. Over time, our actions have a ripple effect. Just as one person's anger can spread negativity, one person's self-control can inspire others to do the same. Ultimately, leading by example is about embodying the virtues we wish to see in the world. The Stoics understood that we cannot control how others behave, but we can control how we conduct ourselves. By choosing wisdom over impulse, patience over frustration, and virtue over anger, we not only improve ourselves, but also become a guiding light for those around us. Anger is easy. Mastery over it is the real challenge. The world does not need more outrage, more hostility, or more division. It needs individuals who can remain calm in the storm, who can turn setbacks into wisdom, and who can lead by example. Every moment of frustration is an opportunity to practice self-control. Every conflict is a chance to show patience, and every hardship is a test of our character. The Stoics teach us that true strength is not in overpowering others, but in mastering ourselves. So the next time anger rises within you, pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with the person you aspire to be. Rise above petty emotions, embrace virtue, and become the kind of leader the world needs, one of reason, resilience, and unshakable inner peace.